What's up guys? Welcome to another video. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. Today, we're gonna be talking about the Fujifilm XT4. Who is this for? Some pros and cons. Let's get into it. I love this camera. First of all, I'll start off with that. Pro level camera. Whenever you shoot with this XT4, just the feel of it, the ergonomics, I'm already jumping into the pros. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I got 10 pros for you guys and 2 cons. I really have 2 bad things that I could talk about more. There's other things that I could discuss that are not something that I would like to have, but those are just nitpicky things. There's really 2 main issues with this camera and tons of things that I love about it. Let's start off, number 1, IBIS. The XT3 did not have IBIS. The XT4 has in-body image stabilization, which is a game changer. Especially for me, I do a lot of handheld shots, a lot of B-roll, a lot of run and gun style shooting. And so I'm not always typically looking to put this on a gimbal or a stabilizer or a tripod. So whenever I do have this camera handheld, the IBIS comes in clutch. There's no weird wobble or anything. The IBIS works really well, especially with this beast, the 16-55 f2.8. This doesn't have image stabilization in the lens. So with this, with the XT4 in the IBIS, it allows this lens to be a very capable video camera and allows it to just take it that extra level. So number two, the flip out LCD screen, boom, boom. You can see it in the XT3. It was just, frontal. You couldn't see the LCD screen when you, like we're doing vlogging or anything like that, or filming yourself. So that helps a lot, especially when you're trying to film yourself and you want to see yourself in a little screen. For me, I use the Atomos Ninja V. So I use a monitor to help me, kind of see myself a little bit better, see focus, make sure I get all that good stuff. But the XT4 allows you to have that capability to see yourself, to rack focus on yourself, and to make sure everything is looking good. That one's pretty simple. Number three, the Fuji colors. I love the colors. This is not just specific for the XT4. Obviously, all the Fuji cameras are carrying the same type of sensors, but the XT4 does have its newest sensor inside of it, and the colors are absolutely great. I love the colors. Just straight out of the camera. The Eterna profile in this camera is super flawless. It's perfect. I love the skin tones. Everything just looks super natural, and not supernatural, but super natural. You get it. But anyways, the Fuji colors in this camera are just absolutely awesome, and I love the way it makes. It's not super vibrant or sad. There's definitely different color profiles, but my favorite one is the Eterna. It's flat enough for me to manipulate the colors in post, but just skin tones. That's what I usually like to look for in cameras. Is the skin tones natural? Are they coming out green, or are they coming out like with some magenta in it? For me, the Fuji colors are really, really nice. They're very natural colors, and for me, that's one of the pros for this camera. Number 4, the hybrid capability. There's a literal switch on this camera that goes from movie right to photo. Like you don't have, or still, in this camera it says still. So it goes from movie to still. You don't even have to change settings. Like if you were shooting a still and you had a certain type of shutter speed and you didn't want it to mess up and you just wanted to flip right away to movie mode and get some dope 4K 60, at 60 frames a second footage, 1080 and 120 frames a second, you could do that and switch right back to still mode, and it would be the same. The settings would be the same. You don't have to mess with it if you don't want to. So that's definitely something that this camera that's definitely why this camera was very appealing to me, was the photo and video capabilities, the hybrid, so to speak, of this camera. It's super capable of doing both. I'll get into that in just a minute as to who this camera is for. But definitely photo and video is very capable at a high level of shooting that in this mirrorless body. So number 5, the straight up ergonomics and feel. I love putting this camera into my hands, slapping on this beefy 16-55 lens and going out and shooting and conquering the world. Sorry, I got some cat hair in my lens. That's not very good. But so whenever I put this lens on, boom, I just love the feel, especially with this battery grip. All of this comes in, and for me personally, I think what you have in your hands, you know, if you feel good, you're gonna do good. You know, if you have something in your hands that's just, you're not inspired to hold, it's small, or, you know, some people like small. Some people actually get more inspired with small. Getting, you know, bringing this down, you know, putting on a prime lens, like the Fuji has this 35mm f2 prime lens. It's like this big, super small. You can take the battery grip off and you can put this thing in your pocket, literally. For me, I like the beef, I like the size. So when I have this thing in my hand, and, you know, with this beefy, you know, lens and this it just feels good. So for me, that's a big plus. I love the buttons, the customization. Actually, that was number 6 on my list, so these can kind of work together. So number 6, customization. Just kind of going back and forth with the customization and the ergonomics and feel of this camera. Definitely, it's pretty. It's a pretty camera. I love the all black. So for me, it just helps me stay inspired when I want to pick this camera up. I want to go shoot because of the feel and because of the way the buttons, the customization. You can customize any button on this camera, literally. For these knobs here on the top, I don't even use the, you know, old-fashioned knobs that Fuji's famous for. I cut those off. I really lock them down. And my shutter and ISO buttons are on the front. My ISO dial's on the front. Shutter button is on the shutter dial is on the back. And so for me, I just love the customization and the ability to pick this bad boy up and feel inspired right away. That's definitely a pro for me. Number 7, the lens lineup. For me, I'm a video guy. Okay, I shoot video. That's my main thing. And so for me, I love this 16-55 and Big Brother here, this 55-140. These two lenses are very capable. Literally, I sold all my prime lenses just so I can have these two. These are all I need for the Fuji lineup. These two lenses do the job. You know, when I want something that's just more run and gun and mid to, you know, literally like wide, almost like it's pretty close to being a really nice wide to medium telephoto lens. Right here, you got the 16-55 with that APS-C crop. You get a nice field of view. I want to say it's a equivalency to a 24-70. So you get a 24-70 lens right here. And with this beast, this thing is so awesome. It's got image stabilization in the lens. So imagine mixing, I don't have to imagine, I have done it, but you imagine putting this lens on this camera that has IBIS. They mix together. They do this wonderful, beautiful wrestling, and they hug and they grab each other, and the IBIS mixes with the image stabilization in the camera and with the stabilization of the lens, and it's just beautiful. You get a stable shot, even shooting super, super tight. 140, what's the equivalency of that in full frame? I don't know. 200, 250, something like that. Something like that. But you get a nice tight shot with this lens and with this lens. So I just love the sharpness in these lenses. They're super sharp. Photos, man, rock solid on the autofocus as far as taking photos with these two lenses. They're super sharp, super nice lenses. So that's definitely a pro for me, is the lens lineup. And then obviously I've had some primes. They have other amazing lenses. They just came out with the 50mm f1.0. I'm gonna check that out soon. So hopefully I can, get my hands on that just to shoot with. I don't even really care to get it. I just want to shoot with it one time. It's a 1.0. Like literally my nose, like shooting someone's face, their nose, probably just their nose will be in focus and their ears will be blurred out. You'll probably just see like the tip of their nose. That's it. But I want to check it out one day. But lens lineup, that's definitely something that is really a pro for me. Number 8, battery life. Now I say this with conjunction. With conjunction, I don't know if that's the right word. I'll go with it. With conjunction of the battery grip. Okay. Without the battery grip, now in comparison to the XT3 had some problems with battery issues. For me, it would die pretty quickly. Even with the battery grip, it would go pretty fast. With these new batteries that they have, I want to get the right word for it. These new batteries, these MP-W235 batteries are really nice. They last a pretty decent amount of time. Now I'm speaking mirrorless cameras, not, guys that are owning your like cinema cameras coming in here. Don't get on me about battery life. Oh, it's not a V mount. Oh, it's not this. It doesn't last this amount of time. This is a mirrorless camera. We're talking in mirrorless body terms. Okay, so for me, for a mirrorless camera in this small little body, the battery life is really good. With the battery grip, they work in conjunction. And I feel like it works really well. The battery life for me lasts, for whatever shoot I'm doing, I never really have problems with the battery. Number 9, high frame rates. Now, I will say, this camera has frame rates up to 240 frames a second. But the 240 frames a second is pretty terrible. The quality, I wouldn't use it. I've used it actually a couple times. I mean, I've used it plenty of times, but a couple times in actual videos that I put out, and it's looked okay. No one, you probably wouldn't notice it, but for me, I see the huge drop off in quality. They haven't mastered it yet, the 240 frames. But when I say high frame rates, I like the 120. The 120 frames is really nice. Super slow-mo. You get a nice buttery slow motion. And that's definitely a pro for me. A lot of cameras don't have 120 frames or even, let alone 240 frames. But 120 frames, not a lot of cameras have that on the market. And number 10, to kind of cap off all the pros to this pro level camera, is all the top pro level specs. I love this camera specs. 4K, 60 frames a second, 420 internal, 422 external to my Atomos Ninja V. It's a beast. The colors are great. This thing is a beast. For me, I'm a video guy, so I don't focus so much on photos. When I do take photos, the photos come out great. The colors are punchy. Everything is amazing. And then also, if you don't want something to come out super punchy right away and you want to color it your own, you get a 420 internal color science. So you get that flexibility in post to color grade however you like. The specs on this thing is pro level. I love this camera and I'm sure you would too. But let's get into the next two things. This is really what's gonna cap off and give you guys an idea of who this camera is for. Is it for you? Are you a wedding videographer looking to get a camera and you're like, man, I want a camera and I'm looking through YouTube and I really want to know if this is for me? Are you a street photographer? Are you wanting to do, YouTube channels, cooking shows? long takes, short takes, run and gun. You just want to grab, buy a camera, your mom, and you just want to buy a camera to shoot your son's soccer games. I'm going to get into that. All right. So I have 2 cons. Okay. The number 1 con for this, let's start with number 2. For me, the number 2 con in this camera is the autofocus. It's weird because the autofocus is really good. Too good. It's too jumpy for me. When I'm shooting, and let's say I have a nice rig setup. Some of you guys have watched my rig setup with this camera. Putting this on a gimbal. Boom, I got the monitor on the side. Got my handle. Everything's looking great. And for when you're using this with a gimbal, it's almost impossible you can't pull focus with a gimbal on the lens unless you get the lens puller, right? But I don't have that. I throw it on autofocus. It works fine, but it's a little too jumpy for me. So that's just a con. Not something that's totally wrecked some shoots for me, but it is a con for me. It jumps, it goes from like one subject to the other. It's really fast, but it's just too jumpy. I like more of a natural flow going from one subject to the next. Fast, but natural. And it's not natural for me, it's too jumpy. And on to the number 1 con for me, for the Fujifilm XT4. And the reason I think this falls into few categories for people is the overheating issues. This thing overheats like crazy. I mean, I'll be on a shooting for 20 minutes and it starts to overheat. I'll put it on 1080. I'll drop the megabits down. Whatever the case is, the camera overheats a lot. Now, if you have a solution for me, drop it in the comments below. I would love a solution because, like I said, this camera is amazing. I love it. The specs are great. But the overheating issues are a big deal. All right, so I've had tons of situations where I'm on set, feeling good, and the camera shuts off. It's overheating. All right, so it happened to me a couple times, and I was like putting it to the side, like, no, it's all right. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe it was a fluke. No, it happens every time, every single time. Now the XT3. I do have to say, the Fujifilm XT3, the later model, I don't remember ever having any problems with it overheating. And so I think for that specific reason, it falls into certain categories for who this is for. If you're a wedding videographer, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't want to be on set, or you don't want to be at a wedding, especially a wedding. Bridezillas are going crazy, right? They're on your back. Hey, where are you at? You're supposed to be here. What's going on? Did you get that shot? Did you make sure? Or you in that spot? Make sure you get that. Make sure you get the flowers. Like, hey, calm down. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But I get it, right? I get it. So definitely during a wedding, you don't want that problem to occur. For me, it's happened multiple times, multiple weddings, multiple shoots. So if you're a wedding videographer, I would say 100% no. If you are a wedding photographer, if you're a photographer in general, for anything, street photography, food photography, real estate photography, yes, a resounding yes. This camera is got amazing photo capabilities, and one of the best in the market for me, in my opinion. I just love the way the photos come out, and again, I love the video. I love the way the video comes. That's why I got this camera. I started with the XT20. I moved to the XT3. I love the XT3, and then the specs on this were very appealing as far as video capabilities when they added the IBIS and the flip out screen, and yeah, I think it separates the camera self-destructs as far as who this is for. without overheating issues, I would absolutely tell you straight in your face that this is for everybody, anybody. You know, if you're first starting out, if you're a pro and you want a camera like a B camera, this camera is for you. But since it has overheating, big overheating issues, it falls into separate categories. So, you know, short shoots, you're just walking, you're just traveling, and you want to take a camera with you. Yes, 100%. Longer shoots, long takes, something like this where I'm talking to the camera trying to make a YouTube video, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. But yeah, I've seen crazy, you know, things people are doing to try to resolve it, putting ice packs on it, just crazy stuff. Don't put ice packs on your camera, please. I don't know what's gonna happen to it. It is waterproof, by the way, so that's really nice. But yeah, so I have a love-hate relationship with the XT4. I love it, absolutely love it. The quality, and I still have it. It's in my possession. I'm still gonna have it. I'm still gonna keep it. I like having it. As far as I would rather have it than not have it. That's what I'll say. I hate it also because of the overheating issues. Because I know the capabilities of it, I know the potential of the camera, but because of the overheating issues, I can't use it as much on set. It's not reliable on a professional shoot where a client pays me a certain amount of XYZ amount of money, and it's just not reliable. So hopefully I hit the ball home, so to speak, to those that are wondering, man, is this camera for me? I hope that I was able to answer some questions. You know, if any of you guys have any questions specifically on camera specs, you know, drop down some comments below on maybe future videos that you want me to make on this camera specifically. Some of the lenses, like I said, I dropped down to 2 lenses on this camera. For me, I'm a video guy, so I love the mixture between the 16-55 and the 50-140. Let me know whatever video ideas you guys want me to hit next for the Fujifilm XT4. I'm still gonna keep it. I like the camera, and hopefully I settled some wrestling with some of you guys that are thinking, man, is this for me? Is it not? Is this for me? Is this not? Is this for me? Is this? So hopefully that resolved that. Can't wait to see you guys in the next video. I'm gonna be dropping out videos every week, jumping in here, going all in. So hopefully you guys tune in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and yeah, peace out.